Well, welcome to the Book Angle. I'm Anna, and this is Sabrina.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about books.
And life.
And life, yes. And probably a lot of other things.
Whatever comes to mind in the moment.
So, you may know me from Misty Mountain Reads. That was my existing book talk. Oh, no, wrong social media. BookTube channel. I have switched over to the Book Angle, so if you're seeing this, you may think, oh, this person looks familiar. I haven't posted in a while, and we're now doing this together.
Yay!
So we're having a bit of a rebrand. You may also know me from Misty Mountain Legends. I have the dog that fights with a sword. So there's that. But I also really like to talk about books because I was a creative writing major in college, and I just really like to read, and so does Sabrina.
Yeah, we met actually at App State because, well, kind of through App State. I was also an English major, and my focus in school was literary studies, so really heavily analyzing books. And then I got my master's degree in English education. So in my spare time, I teach other people how to read. Kinda.
How to analyze books.
How to analyze books.
How to write.
Yes, how to write well-ish, as well as middle schoolers can manage, and tropes, themes, good stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of fun videos upcoming, but this one is just a get to know us, introductory, who are we, what do we like to read kind of video. So yeah, cool. Okay, so I have some questions that I've written down that we're just going to go through to basically like get to know us kind of thing. So first question, what is your current read?
I am currently reading the book that Anna gave me for my birthday book, which is The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher, sorry.
Not to be confused with T.J. Klune.
Right.
Which is what
I was doing in my head. Because apparently if we ever talk about books, it seems like I just only read House of the Cerulean Sea because it gets mentioned a lot. But I am reading The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher, and I only have 25 pages left, and it was really hard to get away from it this morning, but I'll finish it later.
Yeah. Did you know that T. Kingfisher actually lives like 30 minutes from you?
No way!
In Pittsburgh.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to figure out what restaurants to go to. And I'm just gonna have to be like, hey, I'm reading your book.
Yeah. I am currently reading This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, also known as V.E. Schwab because that is her adult name, or when she publishes adult books, that's what the name she uses. But Victoria Schwab is her name she uses for young adult fiction.
Oh.
It is really interesting. Kind of dystopian superhero kind of vibes. I'm not far enough into it to know what's going to happen. But there's monsters and
every good book needs a monster.
Yeah, and dystopian era type city, that kind of thing. What is your reading goal for the year, and how is it going?
So my goal was to read 50 books for the year. Pretty sure I'm only at 31, but I don't actually know, and it's August.
Yeah.
I need to read some novellas to catch up.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So my reading goal for the year is 75. I set that because last year I read 70 books. And I had a little bit of time left over, and I was like, I could probably make it to 75. And then things happened this year where I was like, whoa, I do not have time to read as much. And I'm at 33 books. Goodreads informed me last night that I am 14 books behind my goal.
Wow, thanks, Goodreads.
Yeah, I know.
We appreciate your motivation.
So helpful and encouraging.
It's like when your Apple Watch says you can keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. But I have been reading a lot of novellas recently. But we'll see how it goes. I may not reach it this year. But that's okay if I don't.
That might be an upcoming video where we tell you all how we have failed for the year. Hopefully
it's
not. It's
fine to not meet your reading goal.
It is fine.
Yeah.
It is. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Reading should be fun.
Yeah. Who is an instant read author? So whenever they put something out or whenever you discover a new book by this person, you're going to read it without even looking at the description.
So this has changed a lot over time because when I was younger, it was anything by Rick Riordan.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, come on now, the Percy Jackson series, come on. And then the Chronicles of Cain. And what was really cool was I actually lived in Egypt for a bit because my dad is in the military. And so Chronicles of Cain, wonderful. However, reading it as an adult is still a lot of fun, but there are some things that, my life has changed. And so a new author, told you would only hear about TJ Klune, would probably be House, or anything by him, and House of the Cerulean Sea, which Anna recommended to me. Ever since reading that, I have actually based characters, if I play Dungeons and Dragons, which I play sometimes too, off of his characters because they're just so fun.
Yeah.
So I know I'll have a good time when I read it.
Yeah. T. Kingfisher is my instant read author right now.
We need to find her.
Yeah.
If you're watching this.
I love you. You're my favorite. I just read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher on my birthday. That was my birthday pick. And it's a novella that is a retelling of The Fall of the House Usher by Edgar Allan Poe.
Whoa.
Which I just found out is being made into a Netflix movie or series. I'm not sure if it's one or the other, but it was really, really good. And so T. Kingfisher does horror, but also fantasy. And sometimes the fantasy and horror kind of merge into each other, and sometimes it's just cozy.
I also, one of the books that I have read apparently was very funny. So even if it's fantasy and dystopian and horror, you get some good giggles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't read as much. I'm sorry, but I'll find you if you're in Pittsburgh. Not in a creepy way.
Also, Brandon Sanderson. I have to throw that in there. Brandon Sanderson is an insta read for me. Hardback or paperback?
Well, okay. If you ask my husband, he says paperback because I'm not kind to my books and I fold them over.
Do you break the spines?
I mean, he says I do. I think that my spines are well loved.
They might have a few cracks.
But it gives them character. I will say that on a separate channel, a Paperback Potter coming soon. It's a pottery channel where I am going to be reviewing books. I have specifically chosen paperback books to use. They do look kind of rough. So they have character. Paperback.
Okay. I also prefer paperback, not because I break the spines intentionally, but because hardbacks, I don't like the slipcover. I think that's what it's called. The paper cover that goes over the actual cover of the book. Moving around, shifting around, it gets crinkled. I just prefer paperback for the sensory of it's easier to hold and less shifty.
Have you seen some of the hardback cover books though, where when you take off the jacket, it has very intricate designs and whatnot?
Those are pretty, but it's are you going to take it off and leave it off forever? What is the point of the cover, the slip cover, if you're going to just take it off?
I mean, I don't know. I just break spines apparently. I guess it's a waste of Fair. As long as the paper... Okay, I will say this. I love paperbacks, but the initial cover has to be a thick type of cardstock, and sometimes it almost feels the same as the pages. I don't love that as much because I'm like, man, this book will break.
Yeah. Book trope you like.
This one was hard for me because I feel like everything has sometimes.
Okay, let's say when this book trope is done well, you always like it. With that caveat. Because I think you can ruin every book trope out there if it's not well written.
I had to ask if this was a trope earlier, but an animal sidekick. They're so cute. Teen Kingfisher. See, we need to meet you.
We're your biggest fans.
Right now, I'm reading The Seventh Bride, and there's a hedgehog, and there's a scene where the hedgehog helps call a slug army to save Rhea, and I'm like, I want a hedgehog. I don't want the slugs. But anytime that is done, how can you not like a book with a cute animal character?
Yeah. As long as they are not tragically killed.
Right. See, that's what's done wrong.
Yeah, that's when I'm like, nope, you have ruined it for me. I will stop reading. I emotionally can't handle that.
Yeah.
A book trope I like is rivals to lovers, which is very similar to enemies to lovers, but I feel like it's better because rivals implies that they have some kind of connection other than just hating each other. They have a more mutual understanding and maybe respect for each other. And I've discovered I like this because of Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Highly recommend that book. Very well done. And it ends on a major cliffhanger. But the second book comes out later this year, I think, or maybe January of next year. I was really upset when I finished it, and it was like, what just happened? Okay. So.
I've had a lot of people, so one of the books where it's rivals to lovers is Chloe Gong's These Violent Delights, which I got to meet Chloe in person. We're BFFs. But,
what about me? What about Tea Kingfisher?
I love everyone. And of course we're BFFs, right? But These Violent Delights was really fun because there is like a gang rivalry, and it's a loose adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. And that one was more fun because I feel like they both had more motive to dislike each other, and it ended up working out.
Yeah.
So I can understand and respect the difference.
Last book you recommended to someone.
The last book that I recommended was a novella because I'm on a novella kick. And it was Even Though I Knew How It Ended, or Even Though I Know How It Ends. Oh gosh, I don't remember. But it's by C.K. Polk, and I specifically chose it to read because it was set in Chicago, and I was visiting Chicago. But it was a really fun novella where a character ends up selling her soul for a demon, and something happens, and she wants to solve a crime and a murder mystery in order to maybe get it back.
The last book I recommended to someone was actually, I have it right here, Every Heart a Dore by Shannon?
McGuire.
The McGuire. And I'm actually here to give this book to you because you gave it to me for my birthday, and you haven't read it yet.
Yes.
And I recommended this on my TikTok and Instagram. Literally this morning I posted the video recommending it. Because I didn't know anything about this book before I started reading it. I read one sentence on the back of the book, and I was like, this sounds whimsical and fun. It was something. Whimsical, sure.
Okay.
Also a little bit gory.
Okay.
It was far more on the horror side than the cozy fantasy side, and I was expecting cozy fantasy, but I still loved it.
Okay.
It was really well done. It was much more of a deep thinking book than I was expecting. And a lot more, like I said, on the gory side than I was expecting. And it kind of came out of nowhere. It hits you and you're like, whoa, that took a turn. And then it just keeps going down. It's really interesting because it's set in our world. But if there were other worlds that you could basically travel to, portal fantasy. So all of these children have been to different worlds and then somehow got kicked out, got sent back to our world, and are stuck here and can't find their way back to these other realms that they've been to, and they really want to go back. So they're at a boarding school to kind of cope with this group trauma that they've been through, though they've all been to different realms, and the fact that they all don't feel like they belong in our world anymore.
I can say that the reason why I bought this book for you, despite not having read it, was because most books that I have found where someone goes to a hidden realm, they are trying very hard to get back home. They don't want to be in this different reality. Yeah. And so I was intrigued and I wanted to know, why do they want to go back? And Rick Riordan highly recommended it. And I don't think he's written any horror. And so I'm like,
I don't know if this actually classifies as horror, but there is body horror in it, and I would say that it's a little bit more on the graphic side. Definitely not, I would say, adult level of, like, it's a murder, and the descriptions of the bodies are kind of gruesome. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll let you all know. How exciting.
What is a book trope that you dislike?
I am fully aware that this does not sound great, but I promise I have a reason. I do not like books very often. Of course, there's some things that surprise me where the parents are just dead. Like, I understand that is a reality for a lot of people, especially like, you know, car accidents where it's one person who is alive and other people didn't make it. I can fully respect that. However, I have seen it kind of go the opposite way more often than I have seen it be like, it's been great character motivation where all of a sudden they have a goal and something that they're pursuing. I've often seen it's just more, I don't really know. I don't want to say, I feel like typically they're more angsty than they are sad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And every time I've read it, the main character's been angsty and just like angry. And I know that might be an emotion that people have. However, I want to give a caveat that if parents are just not in the picture, like maybe there's an estranged relationship or they were forcibly removed from parents or maybe only one of them has passed away, I do love those books. So that same dynamic of grief, having to figure something out, I do think it gives them character motivation. Mm-hmm. But if they're just dead and there's not a reason for it, it's like so Disney. Yeah. They always kill off the parents in Disney.
Yeah, it is very overdone, especially in fantasy. Yeah. And it also, as someone who plays tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, it's a lot of times people build a character and be like, yeah, my parents are dead and that's why I'm an adventurer. And it's like, well, a lot of people do have genuinely good relationships or troubled relationships with living parents. Like, yes. You can still have a traumatic past with living parents.
Yes, and then sometimes I feel like they don't play up the trauma enough. It's just like, they died. And it's like, okay.
I think what you're trying to say is that it can come off as lazy writing.
Right. I think that's fair. And I want the trauma. Yeah. I want the issues. Give me the issues and show me the goal and the motivation and how the character adapts with the situation.
Yeah. Well, that was the last question because my answer is going to lead us into how we came to our name, the book angle, because my least favorite trope is love triangles. I hate love triangles because making a triangle because they are not triangles. When you're talking about a love triangle in a book, almost always what people are talking about is one person, let's just use Twilight. Bella is in love with Jacob, but she's also in love with Edward, and she can't make up her mind. That's an angle, guys. This is basic geometry. That's an angle, right? She's duh and duh. Right? So to have a triangle, all three people have to be in love with each other, or Bella has to be in love with Jacob, who's in love with Edward, who's in love with Bella. That's a triangle. Or they're all in love with each other, which is just a throuple, not a love triangle. So I don't like
triangles. Do you actually not like love triangles, or are you just annoyed by the name?
I'm annoyed by the name, but I also don't like them because it feels like the character who is stuck in between making this decision, it's not a believable relationship either way, right? I don't get why she's in love with one of them and not just going with the obvious choice. I feel like a lot of times it's like, well, obviously this other guy is full of red flags and this guy is like here for you and protecting you. Why are you having a hard time deciding? It just feels a little bit lazy at times, or like that character gets backed into a corner. And I just don't like it all the way around. But segue into our name is the book angle.
We are sitting at a coffee shop talking about ideas for this, and then Anna's talking all about love, and then I'm like, well, maybe we could just be the book angle, and then.
Well, the reason you said that was because we were talking about, okay, what kind of things do we like to talk about? We really like books. That's something that we have in common. We also have a dream of having a bookstore where you would sell your pottery. We'd both have like books that we love. And I would also have a coffee shop that's like adjacent to this or whatever. And so like all three of those things kind of go together and books are in the middle. Yes. That's an angle.
And we also talked about how whenever we overthink something, which happens, you'll see, it's like, well, let's look at it from this angle.
Yeah.
And y'all, Anna didn't like this name.
Because I don't like love triangles, so it's like Ingalls, I don't know.
We were like chat GPT, trying to find names. We were asking all these people. We were coming up, it was literary comrades and fun or something. Like, that's what chat GPT came up with.
Yeah. We had some not so great suggestions. And we just kept coming back to the book angle, and that was the one that when we field tested this and said, what do you like to other people? They were all like, the book angle sounds fun. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that. And the other ones we came up with, they were like, well, that kind of sounds similar to XYZ, so...
Yeah, and I mentioned this name in passing to someone who, 1, does not read, 2, who I don't see very often, and 3... didn't even remember the concept, but I saw them like a week or 2 later, and they're like, how's the book angle going? So it rolls off the tip of the tongue.
Yeah.
It's memorable.
So here we are, the book angle. Welcome. So this was our first introduction. We will be doing a lot more videos that are a little bit more structured, and we don't actually live together or near each other. I live 3 hours away, so these in-person videos will probably be infrequent, but we will be filming from our own offices and posting content on a regular schedule. That is the goal. So like and subscribe and follow along, and also tell us in the comments what your current read is, what maybe your favorite trope is, whether or not you like love triangles. We want to know.
Bye.
Bye.